Hi everyone, it's Mike here. Today I thought we would look at one of our slightly older CDs, and this is the In Sympathy CD. Now this CD was created specifically for those times when you need to send somebody a card that isn't necessarily for a happy occasion. Obviously, when we lose someone, we need to send a card just to show that we're thinking about someone, but we don't necessarily want it to be too somber and we don't want it to be too overly sentimental. Now that's why we developed this particular CD. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you a card that I've made using this CD, and then I'm going to show you how I made it. So this is the card that I'm going to show you how to create today. So this is a 6x6 Gatefold card with the panels decorated with the panels on the sheets that I'm going to show you in a second. And I will also show you how you can create a larger version of this card using those extra backing papers that I'm going to show you that I've printed off from the CD as well. So this is the basic 6x6 Gatefold In Sympathy card, and I'm going to show you how I created that right now. So these are the two sheets that I've printed off from the CD. So this is the first kit on the In Sympathy CD. And they come in pairs. So this is page 1, this is page 2. Now this kit was designed for a gatefold card, which you've seen. So I'll just talk you through all the bits and pieces that are on this particular kit. So you have your inside panel, you have your two panels for the gatefold flaps, if you like, the left and right, outer and inner. These are the two panels that fit over the top of these. They both fit, and these have been cut specifically so that they do cover up these butterflies in the corner if you decide to use this one on the outside. You also have your main sentiment panel here, or this one here, so you could use either of these two for your panel that sits on the two front flaps. And then you also have extra sentiments here, here and here as well. They're fairly easy to cut out. Simply all you have to do is to cut them out, and then I will show you how you can use a circle punch just to take out those corners as well. So these punches here are 1.5 inches. Or these circles are 1.5 inches, so they will fit a standard punch. So there's not a lot really, not a lot of fussy cutting that's needed. Now, this is the verse that's included on this particular kit, and it reads, "Those we love remain with us, for love itself lives on. Cherished memories never fade because one loved is gone. Those we love can never be more than a thought apart. For as long as there's a memory, they live on in our heart." Now, which is a really nice sentiment for the inside of a card. But obviously, if you don't particularly like that one, we thought that we would provide you with a choice. So also included on the CD, for this particular kit, there are another 3 different verses. I'm not going to go through and read all 3 of them, but if you wanted just to add your own, there is also a blank panel in the centre as well, on that sheet as well. So you can just print those off if you want to. You don't have to, but those are additional. Now, for all of the different colour combinations of the card kits on this CD, there is also this set of verses in those colour combinations included as well. Okay, so I'll just pop those to one side. What I've also done, because this is a kind of a bluey and a chocolate kind of browny colour, which is a nice combination to use, I've also printed off the matching damask sheets in those same colours for matting and layering if I need to. So those are the 2 sheets that I've also printed off, and there are different backing papers on the CD. This is just one of them. This is the damask pattern, and it's also available in the colours that we use throughout all of the kits as well. So wherever there is like a yellow or a purple in one of the kits, there is also a matching colour in all of the different pattern backing papers on the disc. Okay, so those are the sheets that I'm going to be using in the creation of the card. So what I need to do is I need to cut out all my bits, and then I'll be right back. So I've gone ahead and cut out all my pieces, and I forgot to mention that if you have a scanning and cutting machine, then these sheets are also compatible with that too, because there are the lines around it that the scanning and cutting machine will recognise. I'll just bring that sheet back in. So it does have an unbroken line all the way around, so you can just easily cut out using your scanning and cutting machine. Now, these have got the rounded corners. Now, if you didn't want to cut those out by hand, you can do that by just using a small circle punch. And I'll just show you how I've achieved that. So all I've done is just cut out the square, and then I'm taking a circle punch. This is just a 3/8 circle punch, and I'm just going to place the corner into my punch and just line up where that corner is, like so, and then just take that off. Now, depending on the size of the punch that you use, obviously, if it's a larger corner for these ones, which I should have used this one for, this is a 5/8 circle punch. You can just slide it in, line it up, and just punch out that corner. So if you don't want to do that by hand, and it doesn't take too long to do by hand, but if you've got a punch, why not use it? And that gives you a really nice finished edge. So for the smaller circles, that's when you can use your smaller punch as well. So just put that in and just line it up with the corners and just nick out those 4 corners rather than doing it by hand. And one more. And there you see. So you've got some nice even corners just by using your circle punches to achieve that concave corner. Okay, now what I need to do next is I need to go around all of the edges to hide that white edge with a pen. I'm using a water-based colour pen. This is the Distress Marker in Vintage Photo. So all I'm doing to get rid of that white edge is just running the pen along the edge, and as you can see, it's hiding those white edges. Now this does help cover a multitude of sins if you are cutting out by hand and you're not 100% straight, then this will help to hide those imperfections too. So I'm going to do this to all of my panels, and I've chosen a brown because that's what this is edged in. If you were using one of the other kits on the CD, then you would choose a sympathetic colour to whatever the kit is that you've chosen. So if you've chosen the lemon and purple kit, then you would use a lemon or purple pen. And all I'm doing is just catching the edges. And because it's water-based, it's not wicking into the paper. If you used an alcohol-based pen, like a Copic or a Pro Marker or something like that, then the chances are the colour would wick into the card, which is why I always use a water-based one. And as I said, this one is a Vintage Photo, which is a nice brown. So I'm going to go and do all of my edges for these, and then I will join you when I'm done. Okay, so those are all my pieces that have now been edged, and I'm ready to start on the construction of my card. Now, I've not done anything with the 2 sheets here yet because I'm going to show you how I'm going to create the card base to start off with. So those are all the bits. I'm going to pop all of these safely to one side just for the time being, and then I'm going to bring in my cardstock. Now, because we're creating an In Sympathy card, I'm going to use a dark card base. So this is the 6x6 card base that we've created. This is the Gatefold card base, and our pieces that we've already cut out, like our inside panel, fit just exactly in the middle, like so. And then we have our panels that will fit on the outside, and those then fit on the inside there. So this, if you want to, is where you can then bring in your damask backing papers if you want to create some panels that go all the way out to the outside and create a little bit more depth and dimension. You can use different coloured ones on the inside if you want to, or using the bigger sheet that I've got, you can create panels to go all the way around. So I'll show you how I created this card base very, very quickly. Just grab a piece of my cardstock. This is just an A4 piece of, it's very, very dark chocolate with a slight shimmer to it. As you can see, it looks black on the screen, but actually it isn't. it is actually very, very like dark chocolate. And all I'm going to do is just to put my piece of card onto my trimmer, and I'm going to measure that at 148 millimeters. And I'm going to cut that. Then I'm going to turn it round, and then using the score tool, I'm just going to score at 74 millimeters. And then turn it round and do the same thing again at 74 millimeters. And then you should have two score lines that you can see there, and they just simply fold in and create your gatefold panels. As easy as that. And if you wanted to create a larger size card, I'll just commit those creases using my bone folder. Well, it doesn't matter that there's a little gap in between, because that's okay, because you have a what we call a latch piece, which I'll show you in a second. But if you wanted to create a larger size card, this is an 8x8 one. Now you can create an 8x8 one just by joining two flaps to either the outside or the inside, whichever you prefer. So if you want to hide them from the inside, you would attach them from the back, and if you want to hide them from the back, you just attach them on the inside and then put a piece of backing paper on the inside to cover that join up. It's entirely up to you, and I've just shown you which way you can do it on this example piece. So you can create a larger piece or a larger card just by adding a few inches and using the backing papers that I've shown you earlier. Okay, so let's put together the piece that we've already, or the card we've already created using these bits. Now, if you wanted to create using a sheet of the paper for creating extra mats on here, you probably would need to do more than one sheet in the same colour, because you wouldn't get an entire back panel and front panels out of one sheet, because that would be like two 6x6s. Actually, you might be able to, if you're very careful with your measurements, you might be able to get two out. I probably haven't been as careful with the cutting as I possibly can with the showing you how I've done it. So, wet glue. Let's get the inside panel first. The problem with doing demonstrations like this is that you can't show every connotation of how to create something, because that would take far too long. Okay, so I'm adding some wet glue, and I'm going to drop that into the inside of my card, making sure I've got the equal border all the way around. I know it's quite difficult to see because it's a dark card. I'll try and lift the flaps up there so you can see that. And then we close that over. Okay, and then we'll grab the rest of our panels. Now at this point we can decide which ones we want to go on the front and which ones we want to go on the inside. So those scalloped panels fit in there, but they also fit in there, like so. So you can have the butterflies showing or not showing. It's entirely up to you which way around you want to put on the front. Now personally, for me it doesn't really matter, because I've got the stripes on the inside and these stripes here, which are going to go on the outside regardless. I don't think it really matters which way around you have it. So I'm going to use these on the inside and have these on the outside, which is the one with like the silk effect. So all I'm going to do for that is just grab my wet glue, and again you can use your taper or whatever is your adhesive of choice. Now because I'm using wet glue, it does give me a little bit of wiggle room to be able to line that up. Now this is why I like to have that little bit of gap in between the two folds, so that I can line my outer up with the inner. So I've just lined it up with that bit there, so I know I've definitely got it right. Now if you wanted to, you could actually put that in the middle, but I always line it up with the inside of the flap. I just think it gives a more finished edge to it. And again, do the same thing. Drop it down and then just line it up with the edge, like so. And then you have that nice edge to it. Okay, then all we have to do is to stick our scallop panels on. And for that we do exactly the same thing again. Just drop it on and just line it up with the edge, and just by eye make sure, or try and get it so that we've got it equal. Like so. Once you've got your panels cut out, actually these cards don't take very long to create at all, and if you're making cards to sell, these are a great way to mass produce cards with very, very little effort. And at this time of year, with it being March, statistically we do tend to lose more people at this time of year than any other. I think it's something to do with the cold weather. So everything's nicely lined up, and then the panel that we've chosen to use, yep, is this one, because this then matches the scallops there. So before we stick that down, I want to open up, and then I'm going to utilise these two and stick those on the inside panel here. Again, if you wanted to line these with your backing papers first, you can do. So I'm going to line that up with the crease, and then make sure it's lined up with the paper on the inside. I think it just adds a nice bit of finish to the card if you decorate the inside of your gate panels. And just turn it around. Like so. And doesn't that look lovely? Okay, so I'm going to just put that to one side and bring this panel in. Now the card that we had left over when we created our side panel isn't going to be big enough for you to create a mat with this. So if you have more than one sheet, you can, if you want to, create a mat by just creating, cutting another square off. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to, I'm not very eloquent today. I think I must have had a bad night. I'm just going to stick that down, leave in a little bit of a gap on those two edges there, and then what I'm going to do when that's grabbed is I'm just going to bring my paper trimmer back in, and I'm just going to trim that off with a similar sized border, like so, and then just remove a little bit off that bottom bit, like so. And then I can just, with that little bit of wiggle that I've still got left, I can just make sure that's nicely positioned in the centre of that square. And then bringing in that circle punch again, I can literally just take out the corners so that it matches the scallop piece. There we go. Obviously that glue there is still a little bit wet, so when that dries that'll be fine. And then we can use that, and then we stick that down only on the one side, this side here. Now you can raise that up on foam pads if you wish, and I do have some here which I'm going to do. So I'll just turn it around. It needs to be on the left hand side. So if I just turn that way, it still remains on that side. And all I'm going to do is just put 3 foam pads in a line on that left hand side. And then with that closed, I'm just going to drop that down into the middle, making sure that I've got an equal gap top, bottom and on the sides. Now you can utilise the arrow part here of the scroll work so that it's in the centre of your opening there. And I'm just going to give that a little bit of a push. And there you have your finished card. And as I said, you could, if you want to, make a larger version just by utilising the backing papers, and then you can just centre up all your panels with that backing paper all the way around if you want to. So there's lots of options. You could do a 6x6 like this one, you could do a 7x7, or you could do the 8x8. And how effective is that? It's not too dark, it's not too sombre. And I think anybody who has lost anyone, you know, would like to receive that kind of card just to show that you are thinking about them. So this is the finished card. So that's just another look on the inside of it. And don't forget, you can use those extra panels if you don't particularly like the verse. You've got more than one to choose from. And as we always say, this is just a bare basics. You can add pearls and gems if you want to. You could add little gems or pearls into the centre of these pieces here, or in the corners if you want to. It's entirely up to you how you embellish this card further. This is really just the bare basic, what you can create just by using that kit on the CD. So I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can click that subscribe button, which will keep you informed of all future tutorials and uploads from Crafty Hands in your email. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again real soon. Bye for now.